Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is CJUFCPicks, the smoke sesh. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and comment on the video so you can help the algorithm out. You know how the algorithm works. Make sure to comment on the video who your picks are, your lock of the card, your dog of the card. Make sure to comment those on this video. And make sure to subscribe. We appreciate the support. We reached 600 plus subscribers. Thank you so much for all of the subscribers. Thank you for all the viewers, all the listeners to my podcast. And tonight we're breaking down UFC Fight Night Vegas 89 Ribas versus Namajunas. As you can tell, I don't have a co-host today. Gibbs couldn't make it this morning. It's super early in the morning right now. I'm doing this before I go to work. I couldn't do it last night. I do apologize for the delay. But Gibbs will be back in the upcoming episodes. We miss you, Gibbs. Hope everything is going well, brother. And sorry that this was a last-minute thing. But tonight we're doing a breakdown for UFC Fight Night Vegas 89 Ribas versus Namajunas. Before we do that, before we give you our picks and breakdown for that card, let's go over what happened last week on UFC Fight Night Vegas 88. What a dumpster fire of a card that was, ladies and gentlemen. That was a dumpster fire. Out of 13 fights, I only got 6 picks, 6 fights correct. I mean, that's trash, man. That's trash, and it happens. So can't always do well, can't always do good on these cards. Especially lately, these cards have been tricky to pick. That have been tricky to study. So let me present you with our screen. Give me one moment. And there it is, folks. There is my first pick of the night for UFC Vegas 88 was Charlompos Gregorio. He was doing okay in that fight, but Chad Hellger just came out with that veteran savvy. He outdogged Champolis Gregorio, and Chad Hellger still has it at 37 years old. Got to look out for that guy in that division. Next fight, got the pick correct. Had him by submission, but I still got the pick correct. Thiago Moises completely dominating Mitch Ramirez in that fight. I mean, Mitch Ramirez had some moments in that fight, but Thiago Moises was controlling most of that fight for the most part. And that was an easy pick in my book. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, got the pick wrong. Jacqueline Amorim defeating Corey McKenna in the very first round via submission. I mean, that was definitely a possibility. We all knew that was definitely a possibility, but I thought Corey McKenna was going to be good enough to stop those takedowns and stay and keep this fight on the feet. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and she lost the fight. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, which in my opinion was kind of a robbery. Maybe I'm biased. I thought Josh Holobaugh did enough to win this fight, but the judges called it the other way, and Danny Silva got the victory via decision over Josh Holobaugh in a very good, tough fight. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, which was an easy pick. This should have been my lock of the card. Jafel Filho defeating Ode Osborne in the very first round via submission. As you can see, I got the pick correct, and I got the outcome correct for that one. And I think Ode Osborne should be cut from the UFC. We'll see if that happens. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, was another tough pick, another tough call. I didn't pick Chelsea Chandler to win this fight because Chelsea Chandler did run away in her last fight. And she was doing a little bit of running away in this fight as well when she was getting hit with the big bombs. But she did win the fight, and she won by decision. Good for her. Good for Chelsea Chandler to bounce back and get a win. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, was another easy pick. Mike Davis defeating Natan Levy. I didn't think he was going to get it done by submission, but he did get it. He did get it win, and he got it done pretty easily, in my opinion. Very good fighter right there, Mike Davis. Someone that can do something in this lightweight division. We'll see. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, another lock. Should have been a lock of the card right here. Got the pick correct, got the outcome correct. I'm talking about Gerald Meerschaert going over Bryan Barberena. Bryan Barberena, honestly, only in the UFC to collect paychecks. He's never going to be a top 10 fighter. He's never going to be a champion. Pretty much he's just there to collect paychecks, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty sad in my book. Gerald Meerschaert getting the victory, submission. Good fight for him. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't see this coming. I didn't think she was going to get the submission here, but she did. I did get the fight pick correct. Macy Chiasson going over Pannie Kianzad via submission in the very first round, ladies and gentlemen. Very impressive for her. And Macy Chiasson, she was looking good. She was looking pretty good in that fight. We'll see if she can do something in this women's bantamweight division. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, and he was my dog of the card. Got the pick correct, got the outcome correct. I'm talking about Christian C-Rod Rodriguez defeating Isaac Dogurian in a very controversial decision victory. I mean, I'm happy because I got the pick correct. I got the bet correct. I picked C-Rod to win. He was my dog of the card. Isaac Dogurian, he was dominating the first 2 rounds and definitely gassed out in the third round, I should say. He gassed out in the third round and he got dominated in that third round. But the first 2 rounds he did win. I do have to admit that. So he should have won the fight, but the judges gave it to C-Rod, and I'm happy about that. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, definitely a disappointing lock. He was my lock of the card, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about Kenny and Senchikyu losing to Obi St. Preux. Could not believe that Obi St. Preux still has something left in the tank, even though he's 40, almost 41 years old. Kenny and Senchikyu is forever going to be faded on my no bet list. Not betting Kenny and Senchikyu ever again unless he's going against a very bad fighter. And I thought this was the spot, but Obi St. Preux, OSP, proved me wrong. And I bet you he proved a lot of people wrong and busted a lot of parlays. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, went to a no contest, and I should have got this pick correct. I should have got this pick right. I should have won this bet because Bryan Battle was on his way to a victory over Ange Loosa. And Ange Loosa, man, you're a pussy, bro. You're a pussy for pulling out of that fight over a little eye poke that didn't do too much damage to you. Come on, bro. You just pulled out because you knew you were losing that fight, and Bryan Battle was going to knock your ass out. That's how I feel about this fight. Bryan Battle, still someone to look out for. He was looking very good in that fight until that accidental eye poke. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, was the main event of the evening. Marcin Tybura defeating Tai Tuivasa in the very first round via submission. Tai Tuivasa losing, 4 or 5 fights in a row now? 4 to 5 fights in a row? Not a good look. Not a good look at all. I think the last fight that he won was almost 2 years ago. So Tai Tuivasa, I can't bet you again, brother, until you show me that you got what it takes again. And I don't think you're going to be in the UFC anymore longer after your next few fights. You're still popular. You still got knockout power. You still got the shoey. So I can see you in the UFC for a couple more fights. But if you keep losing, brother, sorry to say you're going to get cut from the UFC. So that was the card. That was the recap for UFC Fight Night. Tai Tuivasa versus Tybura. UFC Fight Night Vegas 88. That's in the books, ladies and gentlemen. And now we move on to the next card, which is UFC Fight Night Vegas 89. Ribas versus Namajunas. But before we do that, before we do the breakdown, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video and make sure to comment on the video. This is the smoke sesh. But I have to go to work in about an hour, so I can't smoke before I go to work. I can't go to work stoned. I can't go to work high. So this is not going to be a smoke sesh. This is going to be a regular Joe Schmo breakdown. So I hope you guys still enjoy it. Next show, we're going to have Gibbs on. Next show, we're going to have a smoke sesh. And I promise you guys, our videos are going to come out every single week. We're not going to miss a card. I promise you that. So let me share my screen for UFC Fight Night Vegas 89. Ribas versus Namajunas. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Another 13-fight card in the works for this Saturday, March 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the prelims, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for the main card. Not sure if I'll stay awake for this card because the card is kind of lackluster. It's kind of Ribas versus Namajunas is not really a main event that I'm looking forward to, but at least we get some fights. Let's get on to the first fight, ladies and gentlemen. Scheduled in the men's heavyweight division, we have Mohammed Usman versus Mick Parkin. Mohammed Usman, he is 10-2, 34 years old, 6'2", 79-inch reach. Then we got Mick Parkin, undefeated at 8-0. He is 28 years old, 6'4", 79-inch reach. This is going to be a sloppy heavyweight fight, low-level heavyweight fight. So I might stay away moneyline-wise. I'm not betting this fight. Moneyline-wise, I might bet the over. I'm still debating on that because Mick Parkin doesn't really have a lot of finishes on this record. I mean, he only has 8 fights compared to Mohammed Usman, 12 fights. This will be his 13th pro fight in his career. He's on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, defeating Jake Collier, defeating Junior Tafa, and Zach Pauga. Mick Parkin, also undefeated in the UFC, defeating Jamal Pose and defeating Kyle Machado. I'm going with the dog here, folks. I'm going with Mohammed Usman to win this fight. He's got more experience. He's fought the tougher competition. He's got more knockout power and probably better cardio than Mick Parkin. We've seen Mick Parkin slow down. And his last 2 fights went to a decision, so he's not really a finisher like that. Unlike Mohammed Usman. I mean, his last two fights went to a decision as well. So that's why I'm looking at the over in this fight. I'm not betting the money line because I don't trust any of these fighters with my money. But I do trust the over. Might bet the over in this fight, the over 1.5 or the over 2.5, depending on the number. But I think Mohammed Usman has better knockout power, better wrestling, better grappling, and just more tools to win this fight over Mick Parkin, taking his undefeated streak here in this fight. My confidence level for Mohammed Usman to get it done is a 6 out of 10. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a banger. I like this fight, and this is going to be scheduled in the men's flyweight division. We got Igor Severino versus Andre Lima. Igor Severino, 8-0. He is 20 years old, 5'7", 69.5-inch reach. Andre Lima, undefeated at 7-0, 25 years old, 5'7", 69.5-inch reach. Both of these gentlemen are undefeated, and one of them must lose their O on their record. Igor Severino coming in at plus 150 underdog. Andre Lima coming in at minus 185 favorite. Igor Severino, only 20 years old, bro, ladies and gentlemen. Not even legal to drink yet. And Andre Lima, 25 years old. So he's got more of a life experience, but Igor Severino has more of a fighting experience. And I believe both of these guys are making their UFC debut. Yes, this guy just fought 5 months ago. I'm talking about Andre Lima 5 months ago against Rickson Zedin. And Igor Severino also fought 5 months ago against Jonathan Silva to get a knockout. And this guy has a lot of finishes on his record. I'm talking about Igor Severino. I think he's the much more dangerous fighter in this fight. He's definitely got the knockout power, and I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to knock out Andre Lima or submit him inside the distance For Igor Severino, my confidence level is about a 6. Might not bet this fight straight up money line wise. Might bet just the under. That's a good parlay right there. The first fight, Mohammed Usman and Parkin under or over 1.5, with Igor Severino and Andre Lima under 2.5. I think that's a good parlay. I might look into that, and hopefully it's plus money. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the women's bantamweight division, we got Montserrat Rendon versus Darya Zheleznyakova. And if I butcher those last names, I don't know how to say that last name, so I apologize. Montserrat Rendon, she's undefeated at 6-0. She's 35 years old, 5'8", 68-inch reach. Darya Zheleznyakova, she's 8-1, 28 years old, 5'9". Her reach is unavailable, and I believe she's making her UFC debut. She is. She's coming from Aries. And Montserrat, she definitely has better experience. She's already been in the UFC. She's already been in the Octagon. She went against Tamariz Vidal. She won by a split decision. I mean, Tamariz Vidal, she's okay. She's not that bad, but I don't know, man. I don't know about this fight. This fight might be close than the number says. I think the minus 175 on a debuting fighter, Darya, is not justifiable just yet. She's not proven. She's never been in the UFC. She hasn't fought any UFC competition as of yet until this fight. I mean, she's number one in Russia, which is impressive because Russia is a tough fighting country. I don't know about this fight, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't do too much tape on this fight because Darya is making her UFC debut, and Montserrat, this is her only second fight in the UFC, so there's not a lot of tape out there for any of these women. But for my money, if I a gun in my head, if I had to pick, I'm going with the more proven, already been in the UFC fighter. I'm going with Montserrat Monster Rendon. My confidence level is a 5. Do not take my word for it. Do not bet this fight. I'm staying far away, and you should too. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the men's featherweight division. We got Steven Nguyen versus Jarno Errens. Sorry for those pop-ups. You know how Tapology is. Steven Nguyen, he is 9-1, 30 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. Jarno Errens, he is 13-5, 29 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. And this fight is pretty easy to call. You got a fighter who lost the last 3 out of his 5 fights compared to someone who won the last 4 out of his 5 fights, coming in at minus 220 favorite, making his UFC debut, coming off a knockout win against AJ Cunningham. And I believe AJ Cunningham is in the UFC. Jarno Errens losing the last 3 out of his 4 fights, ladies and gentlemen, losing to Shang-Hu Choi, losing to William Gomes, and losing to Mert Oziludrum. I don't even think that's not even in the UFC. So this is his 3rd fight in the UFC, and he hasn't won the UFC just yet. Steven Nguyen coming in on his UFC debut. I'm not sure if I trust him 100% to win this fight, but I believe he's a much more dangerous fighter in this fight. He's got the better overall fighting style, and I'm picking him to win this fight. Not sure how he gets it done. My confidence level is about a 6, and I'm not betting this fight because it's his debut. I hate betting on debut fighters, and I hate betting on women's MMA. But that's up to you guys if you want to bet this fight. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a sneaky banger fight scheduled in the men's bantamweight division. We have Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. Miles Johns, he is 13-2, 29 years old, 5'7", 66-inch reach. Cody Gibson, 19-9, 36 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a sneaky banger fight because both of these gentlemen go at it. Both of these gentlemen bring it each and every single time they fight. Miles Johns going to a no contest over Dan Argueta, even though I think he won that fight. Then he went against Vince Morales. His last loss was 2 years ago against John Castaneda. And then before that, he was winning again against Anderson Dos Santos and Kevin Natividad. Cody Gibson losing the last 2 out of his 5 fights, losing to Brad Katona, winning against Francisco Rivera, losing to Ray Borg, winning against John Dodson, and winning against Louis Sanadakis. Those guys are not in the UFC. And this is his second UFC fight coming up. He's 36, almost 37 years old. There's no way I'm picking this guy in this fight. I like Miles Johns better. He's got more UFC experience. He's fought the tougher competition. He's got better wrestling, better grappling, and better striking. So I'm picking Miles Johns to win this fight. And I love that line at minus 125. Best believe I'm betting that line. Best believe I'm betting on Miles Johns. And you guys should too. My confidence level is about a 7. He's not my lock of the card, though. Minus 125 is a good number, though. So take that with a grain of salt. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, is another sneaky scrap. This is another good banger fight right here on the prelims. Scheduled in the men's featherweight division. We got Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa. Ricardo Ramos, he is 16-5, 28 years old, 5'9", 72-inch reach. Julian Erosa, he is 28-11, 34 years old, 6'1", 74.5-inch reach. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a scrap. This is going to be a banger. I would not be surprised if this fight does not go the distance. Ricardo Ramos winning or losing the last 3 out of his 5 fights, and Julian Erosa losing the last 2 out of his 5 fights and on a 2-fight losing skid. Coming in at plus 150 underdog, Ricardo Ramos minus 175 favorite. We all know Ricardo Ramos is going to have the advantage on the ground and in the submissions. Julian Erosa, he's kind of a dog. He is chinny. He can get rocked, but he can be a dog at times as well. He's tough. He can stay in the pocket and trade with the best of them. Ricardo Ramos losing to Charles Jourdain. I mean, that's kind of an excusable loss because Charles Jourdain is pretty solid. Winning against Danny Chavez, losing to Saiboro Takugov, winning against Bill Adrio. That's a good win. And losing to Leroy Murphy. Julian Erosa, though, 2-fight losing skid, losing to Fernando Padilla and Alexis Caceres, both knockout losses. Not good luck. But before that, he was kind of on a tear, winning against Hakeem Dawodu, winning against Steven Peterson, and winning against Charles Jourdain. But I think in this fight, this is going to be his 3rd fight losing in a row. I'm sorry to say, I like Julian Erosa, I like his style, but gotta go with my gut, gotta go with my heart, and I gotta go with what I saw on tape. Ricardo Ramos is going to win this fight. And my confidence level is about a 6, almost a 6.5 out of 10. And I think he's going to get it done by submission, folks. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the men's lightweight division. And this is the featured prelim fight for UFC Fight Night Vegas 88. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and make sure to share. Share this channel, especially if you like free picks, free bets, free underdogs, free locks. We're here each and every single week. And my co-host Gib is coming back on the next card. This fight is scheduled in the men's lightweight division. We got Trey Ogden versus Kurt Holobaugh. Trey Ogden, he is 16-6, 34 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach. Kurt Holobaugh, 20-7, 37 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. This is a very interesting, very good fight. Trey Ogden, one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. Kurt Holobaugh, He's 37, almost 38 years old, but he's a dog, ladies and gentlemen. And he's an underdog in this fight, plus 125 on a 3-fight winning streak. I like to see that. Trey Ogden, he's one of the most underrated fighters, and he was also a coach in the UFC. He should have won his last fight. Nicholas Malta, he was losing that fight, but unfortunately, it was a premature stoppage by the ref, and there was a no contest. He did lose to Ignacio Bahamondes by decision, winning against Daniel Zellhuber, which is aging pretty well, losing to Jordan Levitt. I mean, that's not a good loss, but it was a split decision. And then winning against JJ Okabenich, but that was not in the UFC. Kurt Holobaugh, though, 3-fight winning streak. He's definitely fought the tougher competition, and he's been in the UFC longer with a better record. Winning against Austin Hubbard. Oh, that was only his first UFC fight. My bad, ladies and gentlemen. Winning against Jose Luis Verdugo and winning against Josiah Boyd. But those guys are not in the UFC and probably not UFC caliber. Trey Ogden, I mean, his record is wishy-washy, but I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to get the takedowns. I think he's going to get his grappling going. He's going to get his striking going. I think he's got better cardio and better fight IQ overall. I think Trey Ogden gets this fight done. Not sure if I'll get to it betting wise, but as far as a picking perspective, definitely going with Trey Ogden to win. And I think he's going to get it done by decision. I don't see a stoppage in this fight. My confidence level is about a 6 for Trey Ogden. Not sure if I get to it betting wise. We'll see. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the men's featherweight division. This is going to be a very good fight. We have Luis Pajuelo versus Fernando Padilla. Luis Pajuelo, he's 8-1, 29 years old, 5'10", 69.5 inch reach. Luis Padilla, he is 15-5, 27 years old, 6'1", 76 inch reach. Fernando Padilla coming in at minus 170 favorite. Luis Pajuelo, he's a plus 145 underdog, and I think those lines are correct. I think Fernando Padilla should be a favorite in this fight. I mean, this guy, Luis Pajuelo, making his UFC debut, he did get a nice knockout victory against Robbie Ringen on the Contender Series, and he's been getting a lot of knockouts on his record. Fernando Padilla already made his UFC debut. He won against Julian Erosa by knockout and losing to Kyle Nelson. But Kyle Nelson is a UFC veteran. He knows what he's doing in there. He's seen a lot of tough competition. Unlike Luis Pajuelo, he's only had 9 professional fights, and he's making his UFC debut. Unlike Fernando Padilla, he's already been in the UFC 2 times, so this would be his 3rd time fighting in the UFC. He's only 27 years old, very young into his UFC career. He's going to have a significant reach advantage, almost by 7 inches, ladies and gentlemen. 6.5 inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage, and I think he's going to have just overall better output in this fight, better cardio probably, more experience. I got to go with Fernando Padilla in this fight, and I might make him my lock of the card at minus 170. I love that line for Fernando Padilla in this fight. And like I said, I think they got the lines right. They got the lines correct in this fight. Fernando Padilla to win inside the distance. My confidence level is about a 7, almost a 7.5 out of 10. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, is another scrap, another banger right here. Scheduled in the men's featherweight division. We got Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q versus Joseph Zalal. Billy Quarantillo, he is 18-5, 35 years old, 5'10", 70-inch reach. Joseph Zalal, 13-5, 27 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach. Joseph Zalal, plus 135 underdog. Billy Quarantillo, minus 165 favorite. Billy Quarantillo definitely has the more UFC experience. And I think this line should be closer than the number says. Because Joseph Salau, he is pretty damn good. I looked at his tape, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's all the past 3 fights, he's finished his opponent. And Billy Quarantillo has been finished in the past. He was finished by Essen Barbosa not too long ago, not even a year ago. But he's fought the tougher competition without a doubt, and he's been in the UFC longer, okay? Youssef Salau, this is a huge step up for him in competition. But I have to go with Billy Quarantillo just because he's got more experience. He's fought the tougher competition. He's been in the UFC longer, and he's more proven. I might be wrong here, ladies and gentlemen. The Mexican Devil, Youssef Salau, the Moroccan Devil. Sorry, not the Mexican. The Moroccan Devil, Youssef Salau. I don't know, guys. This guy seems like a problem in there. But like I said, this is a huge step up in competition for this guy. He's making his UFC debut, which I do not trust. I think Billy Quarantillo can defeat all those guys he defeated as well. That's why I'm going with Billy Quarantillo to win. And my confidence level is about a 6.5 out of 10. The next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the men's bantamweight division, we have Peyton Talbot versus Cameron Simon. Peyton Talbot, undefeated at 7-0, 5'10", 70-inch reach. Cameron Simon, 9-1, 23 years old, 5'8", 67-inch reach. Both of these guys are very good. Both of these guys go at it each and every time they fight. Both of these guys are dogs. They can both have chins. And this is going to be a very good scrap, very good fight. Both of these guys are very early into their UFC careers. Peyton Talbot, he reminds me of a current champion, a current superstar. He reminds me of Sugar Sean O'Malley. I've been saying this since this guy debuted on the Contender Series. And on the Contender Series, he dominated that fight against Freire Cortez. He got a submission victory against Nick Aguri. He stopped all of his previous fights. Cameron Simon definitely has the more UFC experience and probably fought the tougher competition. He did lose to C-Rod Christian Rodriguez, which is not a bad loss. He won against Terrence Mitchell, Mana Martinez, Steven Kozlov, and on the Contender Series, Josh Wan Kim. Cameron Simon definitely has more UFC experience. He's been in the UFC longer and a little bit more proven. But Peyton Talbot, bro, he's got really good striking and very sneaky KO power. He's going to have the height advantage by 2 inches and a 3-inch reach advantage as well. And like I said, he reminds me of a current champion, a current superstar, Sugar Sean O'Malley. And I think he's going to be a current or a future champion and a future superstar in the UFC. I'm talking about Peyton Talbot. -140 is a great line. That's a gift. When the lines first dropped, he was a -115, and I could not believe it. I immediately bet on that. And you guys should still bet on this line. -140 is a gift. I'm telling you guys, Peyton Talbot is going to win this fight. My confidence level is about a 7.5 out of 10. Might make him my lock of the card because -140 is a gift. I'm telling you guys, he's going to win this fight. I like Cameron Simon. He's a good fighter. I just don't think he's got enough tools to win this fight. Peyton Talbot is just going to be much more hungrier, much better in there. And I think he's going to win this fight. Might even get a stoppage. I don't know. We'll see. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, is another good banger right here. And I like both of these fighters as well. We have in the men's middleweight division, Edmund Shabazian versus A.J. Dobson. Edmund Shabazian, he lost the last 4 out of his 5 fights. Not a good look. He's 12-4, -185 favorite, 26 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, AJ Dobson. He is 7-2, winning the last 3 of his 5 fights. 32 years old, 61-inch reach. 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Excuse me. He's my dog of the card, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, AJ Dobson at plus 150 is a good line, and I think he gets it done. I know Edmund Shabazian has more UFC experience. He's fought the top competition, but losing the last 4 out of your 5 fights is not a good look. He lost to Anthony Hernandez, winning his last fight against Dalcha Lugimbala, and I don't think he's in the UFC anymore, and he's not that great anyway. He lost to Nasruddin Imavov, Jack Hermanson, and Derek Brunson. He's not in the UFC anymore either. AJ Dobson winning his last fight against Tafan and Chukwi, losing to Armin Petrosian, losing to Jacob Malkoun, 2 wrestlers right there, 2 grapplers, winning against Hashim Arkabaga and on the Contender Series. And I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to get it done, folks. If he gets his wrestling and grappling going, and he's got sneaky KO power as well. If he can get those things going in this fight, I think he's going to win this fight. And I think he's a good underdog to pick. He's got some dog in him, folks. And he's probably a little bit underrated, in my opinion. AJ Dobson should win this fight. He is going to be my pick. My confidence level was about a 6. He's my dog of the card this week. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, is scheduled in the men's heavyweight division and is scheduled for the co-main event for UFC Fight Night Vegas 89. Ribas versus Namajunas. Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. Carl Williams, 9-1, 34 years old, 6'3", 79-inch reach. Justin Tafa, 7-3, 30 years old, 6 foot even, 74-inch reach. And this should be a very interesting fight. This fight is not going the distance, folks. I think someone's going to get knocked out or submitted in this fight. Carl Williams. Look at this. Very good, very impressive record right here. 9-1. Justin Tafa, 7-3. Winning the last 3 out of his 4 fights. He got a no contest in there against Austin Lane, but Austin Lane's pretty trash, and I think Justin Tafa would have won that fight. So he's only lost 1 fight, and that was almost 3 years ago against Jared Vanderaa. Jared Vanderaa, not a good fighter. That's not a good look. Carl Williams winning all of his UFC fights so far, including the Contender Series against Jimmy Lawson, decision victory against Lucas Brzeski, and decision victory against Chase Sherman. And I think this is going to be another victory for Carl Williams, and I think he's going to get his first stoppage in the UFC here because Justin Tafa doesn't have great cardio. He's got good knockout power. He can knock just about anyone out in this division. And he won against Austin Lane, Parker Porter, and Harry Hunsucker in the UFC, all by knockout. But none of those guys are as good as Carl Williams. I think Carl Williams can defeat all of those fighters as well. And I think Carl Williams can defeat Justin Tafa in this fight. I think he's going to get it done by knockout. He might go to another decision. Who knows? Carl Williams is my pick, though. My confidence level was about a 6. There is a world out there, though. There is a possibility that Justin Tafa can get a knockout. He can get a flash knockout in this fight. I can't see that happening. That's why I'm staying away from this fight, betting-wise. I'm not betting this fight. I think the line is off, to be honest. Minus 225. I don't think that line is justifiable for Carl Williams. Plus 185 for Justin Tafa. I think that line is way too high. I think it should be more of a pick 'em. But for a picking perspective, I'm going with Carl Williams to win either by knockout or decision. Next fight, ladies and gentlemen, scheduled in the women's flyweight division, and it's the main event of the evening for UFC Fight Night. Ribas versus Namajunas. UFC Fight Night Vegas 89 going down at the UFC Apex. And this is the main event of the evening. Before we give you the pick, before we give you the breakdown, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and make sure to share. CJUFCPicks, the smoke sesh. We always have a co-host on deck, but not today, not for this episode. We missed you, Gibbs. Wish you were here, brother, but we know you're going to be back on the next episode. But until then, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and make sure to comment on the video who your picks are, your lock of the card, your dog of the card, and check us out on all of our social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, CJUFCPicks. We're all over the place. Make sure to give us a like, subscribe, and share us. Tonight, the main event is Amanda Ribas versus Namajunas. Amanda Ribas, she's 12-4, 30 years old, 5'3", 66-inch reach. Namajunas, 11-6, 31 years old, 5'5", 65.65-inch reach. This is Amanda Ribas' first ever main event in her career in the UFC. Namajunas, a former champion. She's been in the main event before. She's been under the bright lights before. Both of these women are pretty solid. Both of these women have championship caliber in them, especially Namajunas. She's already been a champion before, but she's on a 2-fight losing streak. She hasn't been looking good as of late, especially after she lost her title against Carla Esparza. Losing to Carla Esparza, losing to Manon Fiorot. Her last win was almost 3 years ago against Weili Zhang in a split decision, which is a good win because Weili Zhang is the current champion and she's a good fighter. She won against Weili Zhang again. So she has 2 wins over Weili Zhang and another win against Jessica Andrade. 2 former champions right there. So her last 3 wins were against former champions. But she's going against an upcoming hungry fighter, Amanda Ribas. And she's a dog, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, she could take some hits. She's got a chin on her, and she will keep coming at you. And I think that's a little bit of a problem, is that she's a little bit too hittable, and she can wear that damage on her face, which can look ugly for the judges. But this is a 5-round fight. Not sure if this fight will go all 5 rounds, but I think it does. I think this fight goes to a decision. Amanda Ribas winning the last 3 of her 5 fights, winning against Laura Pinheiro via knockout, losing to Macy Barber, which is not a bad loss because Macy Barber is a tough, very good fighter, winning against Viviane Araújo, a former title contender, losing to Caitlin Soremana, split decision, and winning against Berna Jandiroba, which is another tough fighter. Namajunas losing to Manon Fiorot and losing to Carla Esparza, and then winning those 3 fights against Weili Zhang and Jessica Andrade. This is a very tough fight to call, and I think this fight should be a pick-up. Amanda Ribas coming in at plus 150 underdog. Namajunas minus 185 favorite. I don't blame anyone for taking the dog spot here. And to be honest, I think this is a dog or pass spot. I think Amanda Ribas is going to win this fight. I think she's got more dog in her. I think she's hungrier. And like I said, Namajunas has not been looking the same ever since she lost her belt. And she's not that in great of a shape lately. I've seen some of her pictures on Instagram, and she lost some of her tone. She's kind of soft in the middle right there, and I don't like that. Amanda Ribas probably in better shape, but Namajunas fought the tougher competition. She's been champion. She's been in the main event. She's been in a 5-round fight before. So we don't know if this fight goes past 3 rounds, we don't know how Amanda Ribas is going to look. Her cardio, her grit. But I think that her cardio and her grit is going to win the fight for her in here. Amanda Ribas is my pick, and my confidence level is about a 6. Might not bet the fight straight up, but the over 3.5 intrigues me, and I hope it's plus money, folks. So that was a breakdown. That was the picks for UFC Fight Night, Ribas versus Namajunas. Make sure to check it out on Saturday, March 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the prelims, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for the main card. The next fight, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to break down, and Gibbs will be here. Gibbs will be back for this card, ladies and gentlemen. And the next fight card is going to be another women's main event card. And I think this is going to be not at the Apex. This is going to be in New Jersey, Atlantic City card. UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield versus Ferrio. This might be a title contender fight. Early lean. I gotta go with Blanchfield. I like her style and I like her grit. I like the way she fights, but that's an early lean without tape study. So do not take that pick serious as of yet until next week. Or this week, actually. We're gonna drop the episode this Sunday for UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield versus Ferrio. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the picks. That was the breakdown for UFC Fight Night Vegas 89. Namajunas versus Ribas going down this Saturday, March 23rd. So make sure to check that out. And make sure to check us out right here on this channel, CJUFCPicks, along with my co-host Gibbs. He could not make it today, but he will be back this Sunday to do more breakdowns and more picks for you all of our loyal subscribers. Thank you so very much for getting us to 600 subscribers, on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a very nice, generous giveaway to all of our followers, all of our listeners. So make sure to share us, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to like the video and comment on the video to help the algorithm out. Thank you so much once again for joining us here on CJ UFC Picks. We're out of here, folks. Take it easy and have a great day.